Welcome back to SleeplessRonin Plays, and today we're going to be finishing up Technical Readout 3067 in the third part of this video series, ranking the clan battle mechs this time. And we have 15 clanners up for this one, so hopefully a relatively speedy little video. There are a lot of second liners in this list, and let's look at the ranking scale. We've got our typical ranking scale. Top we've got superb. They're superb. Awesome mechs are next. Then we've got your average banal mechs. They're nothing to write home about, but they're nothing to ignore either. Then we've got the crud. Yeah, I just felt like going with that word today, crud. So, yeah. We've got our cruddy mechs next. And then we've got our dreadful mechs, because I like the word dreadful, and because, honestly, they're... I know dread, the original meaning dreadful is something to dread. Now it just means, oh, that's dreadful. It's just, So, we're going to cover those ones in our categories today, and we've got 15 clanners to start with. And the first one up is the Solitaire. This is a 25-ton clan diamond shark / sea fox fast attack mech. I mean, this thing is not a scout in any way, shape, or form. This is not an electronics warfare mech. This is just all about getting up as fast as you can into your opponent's face and beating them senseless with big guns. And yes, big guns. I do mean big guns in this case. It's I already said, 25-tonner. It's got a 250 rated XL engine. It moves at 1015. It's got 10 double heat sinks and 86 points of armor, which means that it's relatively, it's really close to maximum armor. I think this thing could fit in 3 more points than to be maximum armor. So it's right there. It's really close to maximum armor. And what does it map for weapons? Well, it has, as far as I'm concerned, it's got 2 firing modes. The first firing mode is to fire its heavy large laser, because that's 18. That's an insane amount of heat just off the initial shot. And of course, you should be running at all times in this mech. You want it. Speed is life. Speed is life. The other loadout, or the other, not the other loadout. This is all in one loadout. This is all one loadout. It's a single loadout. But the other firing mode, in my opinion, is to fire the double heavy mediums and the 1 heavy small when you're like really close to something. Because remember, clan heavy lasers have a +1 to hit penalty, and they only have the ranges equivalent to an inner sphere laser of the same design. However, they do like double damage of the inner sphere versions of the lasers for the same weight. They eat up a huge amount of critical spaces comparatively. Well, they eat up more critical spaces, but they just freaking hit like a Mack truck. I mean, we're talking about a 1-ton laser that does 10 points of damage. That is disgusting. Truly disgusting. So, yeah. This thing cannot handle the heat if you go alpha striking at all. Although in the fluff they do talk about this. Some pilots do run up there in an advantageous position, alpha strike and go, uh-oh. Yeah, I wouldn't do that at all with this thing. I'd either shoot the large laser when I'm at ranges or the close range stuff when I'm closer in. Because that's just kind of how the heat handles. And I don't like to overheat. So where am I going to rate this thing? Well, honestly, it's a pretty awesome little mech. It is crazy fast. It's got good enough armor for its weight, and it punches well above its weight class. It sometimes regrets that, and sometimes it isn't. It does need a, to pick the right targets. I mean, this thing's a great thing to go and hunt assault mechs with, because they're going to have low movement modifiers, so you don't have to have too big of a penalty to hit. And you've already got that +1 for heavy lasers. And you get the speed to get around behind them, and a couple shots of the heavy large laser, heavy mediums in the back of something is enough to make it sit up and notice. So we're going to put it as an awesome little mech. Actually, I'm fairly certain the lightweight ones in this book are pretty cool for the most part. Next up we have the Hellion. This is a Ice Hellion Omni mech that weighs 30 tons. And interestingly enough, it's the only one that we've gotten a miniature for from Catalyst. The only 3067 mech that has a miniature is the Hellion. I'm not sure why it made it into the Kickstarter last time, but I do like the way this mech looks, so I was very happy to see there. I also like its loadouts, being a pretty versatile Omni, and this is just a pretty solid light mech. Let's dig into this sucker. So it weighs 30 tons. It moves at 711, but it has mask built in, so it's always going to hit the 14s. It's got 105 points of ferrofibrous armor, so it's pretty well protected. It is actually at 100% maximum protection on this thing, so it's got durability for its weight class. It's got 10 built-in heat sinks, and yeah, we're starting from a pretty good position. It does have an XL engine, and it does have Indo Steel for weight saving, so we're starting in a pretty advantageous position. The primary loadout mounts 2 ER medium lasers in the arm, or the right arm, 1 ER medium laser in the left arm, another ER medium laser in the head, an LRM 10 rack with 1 ton of ammo, and then triple Streak SRM2s. So it doesn't have any extra heat sinks to handle that weaponry. And that means that if you fire all 4 ER mediums, you're already overheating if you ran. So you've really got to watch your weaponry loadout on this thing. I would have actually probably stripped out the LRM 10 on this thing because it's speed. It doesn't need the LRMs really. Although Clan LRMs again don't have no minimum range. For a few extra heat sinks just so I could be more flexible. And maybe take that extra half ton from the LRM 10 and like stick it over into like an ER small as a backup weapon or whatever. That's what I have done, but I didn't design this mech. But still, the primary loadout has got a lot of options for guns, even though it does overheat. Alt-Config A is a range support variant. It mounts triple LRM 10s, an ER medium laser, and 1 ton of ammo per launcher. So it just sort of sits back at distance, which is interesting for its speed, and kind of pelts things. It's not bad at all, and it's more heat efficient this way, but I still think I kind of like the primary variant better. Alt-Config B is our heavy large laser variant, our heavy puncher. It has a heavy large laser, 4 heavy medium lasers, a heavy small laser, and thankfully 3 additional double heat sinks. I mean, that's still not enough to handle the heat load on this thing. Still, Alt-Config B definitely punches above its weight class. Again, this is a good assault hunter because the weapons do a lot of damage, and the assaults are something it can hit. Alt-Config C is very much like Alt-Config A, but with a better missile loadout. Well, a different missile loadout. And a targeting computer. That's the cool thing. It still mounts 4 ER medium lasers, differently located. Now it's like one in each side torso and 2 in the center torso. So it has no more arm weapons. So honestly, if you have a clanner that decides to want to go fisticuffing, punch, 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 this is the better variant. But in addition to those 4 ER mediums that are tied into a target computer, it also mounts an ATM-6 with 3 tons of ammo, so it can carry all the different variants of ammo. So you can actually do a pretty good missile barrage at close range as well. It's an interesting loadout. I like it better than the primary one by a little bit because the target computer does improve the ER mediums. But again, it's lacking that whole heat balancing ability. Honestly, A and B are probably the most heat efficient if you fire B as either heavy large or the heavy everything else's. So same as with the Solitaire, you gotta pick and choose how you can do it. It's not superb, sadly, but it is another awesome little light. I just like it. It also looks really cool, especially the one we got from the resculpt from Chaos. Not even saying, actually this original artwork design is actually some of my favorite artwork from the 3767 book. I just really like the way this mech looks. It's a pretty cool looking little mech. Which is much the opposite of the way I feel about the next mech's artwork. The next mech is just kind of ugly. And the next mech is called the Spirit. The Spirit is Clan Jade Falcon's new second line light mech for its Toman. It's a 35 tonner with a 245 XL engine, so it moves at 711. Has 11 double heat sinks. It does have ferrofibrous, and it does also have Indo Steel. It's got 115 points of armor, which is not quite maximum, but again, it's really close. It's like 4 points off of max. So it's really close to maximum. And it's obviously, you don't waste that extra half a ton for armor you're not using. So it's understandable that it being 4 points under. It's got an interesting loadout of weapons. What to me is weird is that what looks like a disposable launcher in one hand, that's an LRM 10 that it can just sort of go. Or no, that's the Streak SRM 4. That looks like it's like a handheld missile launcher. That's a Streak SRM 4. Very strange. Okay, so this thing has an ER large laser, with an LRM 10 with Artemis 4. I'm not a huge fan of that combo. Honestly, just go to the 15 rack instead. Seriously, just go to the 15 rack. It's got a heavy medium, a heavy small, a Streak SRM 4, and an ECM. So it's interestingly loaded. It's got the ability to fight at all ranges. So you got your 2 long-range weapons, the ER-Large and the LRM-10, and then you got your close-range weapons, the heavy, medium, heavy, small, and streak SRM-4, which of course you can still fire the LRMs, even though it doesn't have a lot of ammo for them, so I got 1 ton of ammo. The LRM's a little bit of a weird thing on this thing, although it does pair up with the ER-Large for the long-range sniping. So it's not bad. It feels very eclectic, because it's an odd clan design in my opinion, because it's really trying to do like everything. It's got a little bit of electronics prevention, a little bit of electronics offense with the Artemis. It's got long-range sniping. It's got good speed, but it doesn't scout. It's got good armor, so it's durable, but it's also got point-blank, and it's got point-blank weapons. It really feels like a very strange kind of like clan design in my opinion. It's not really specializing in anything. So I'm going to say it's a very average design. It's kind of banal. Way to go, Jade Falcon. Way to be boring. But I mean, it's not bad, not great though. So it's kind of like right there. The way it looks is kind of not so awesome though, in my opinion. But that's I don't get the hyper pointy shoes or why the SRM-4 is in a handheld launcher. Next up, the Lobo. Hello, Wolf. Yes, it's a Clan Wolf mech. It's called the Lobo because sure, why not? I mean, we got the Timber Wolf, we got the Dire Wolf, we got the Lobo. Hello, Lobo. I like Lobos. Okay, the Lobo's our first medium mech. It weighs in at 40 tons. It's got Indo Steel and it's got ferrofibrous armor. It's got a 240 XL engine, so it moves at 6'9", which has got a pretty good clip on it. It's got 10 double heat sinks and 134 points of armor. The armor is, once again, not quite max, but we're looking at like 3 points off of max. So again, you're not going to waste that extra half a ton to throw just 3 points of armor on, so it's understandable on what percentage of load it is. I look at the picture and I go, where's your cockpit? But that's a story for another day. Is it those 3 little lines underneath the AMS system? Is it that whole like front thing? Is it a big giant glass sheet on there? I don't know. I don't know where the cockpit is. So, hey, Catalyst, here's one that could use a redesign because I'd like to know where the cockpit is. I mean, aside from that, I actually think it looks pretty cool. I just don't know where the cockpit is. I actually kind of like the way the design looks. Well, the nipple launchers maybe could do without those, but, you know, make them more of a traditional SRM or ATM-6 looking thing and not like a giant nipples up here. I don't know. Okay, well, what's the thing for weapons? It's got an AMS system in the head. I already mentioned that as above the 3 little lines right there. Is that an AMS? Well, it's an AMS, but is that cockpit? I don't know. It's an AMS. It's got 2 heavy medium lasers in the arms. That's the arm guns on there. It's got an ER-Large laser. Okay, we're over-exceeding its heat capabilities pretty fast. And then it's got a heavy small laser. And then the 2 big launchers are ATM-6s with 4 tons of ammo all total. So you can't really get 3 kinds of launcher ammo per thing, which is just fine. You're probably going to, with this thing, have more short-range loads than long-range loads, so you'll be okay on that way. And, yeah, it'll work out just fine. I mean, again, you have to really balance your heat with this sucker because it overheats with just the energy weapons alone. You want to put those missiles in, you have to really watch what you're doing. You kind of fire the ER-Large laser with the ATMs at range, and then when you get in closer, you fire the heavy mediums, maybe the heavy small, and the ATMs at whatever range bracket they are, either the medium range missile or the standard range missile or the high explosive missiles. So you'll be looking at those things. The high explosives is what you're going more of, because the high explosives match the same range bracket as the heavy mediums do. So you've got those things in there. It's kind of, in my opinion, goes more towards the brawler side of things. So it's got that going for it. But yet at the same time, I do like the way this thing looks. I like the way it performs. It's just heat inefficient. So it's going to be awesome, but it's barely awesome. Barely awesome. Also, again, good defense, good armor on that weight class. Next up, we have the Pinion. Pinion's like a feather kind of thing. This is Clan Jade Falcon again. It's a 45-tonner. It has a standard engine, which is unusual. My favorite thing reading the fluff in this is it talks about the fact that in 3064, Khan Pride stopped the clan producing proto-mechs after seeing after they performed poorly. Yes, they perform poorly generally. And after Smoke Jaguar was annihilated, So they said, hey, those things are garbage. Let's not use them anymore. And took all those micro pulse lasers designed for them and stuck them on this mech. So let's go back to the stats of this mech. It's got Indo Steel, and it does have basic. It's got basic armor, Indo Steel. It's got double heat sinks, thankfully. It's got 14 double heat sinks, so we can see this thing's going to be putting out some heat energy. It moves at 585, so it does jump, which is kind of nice. It's got 153 points of armor, which is maximum for this. It is maximum armor. So it may have wasted a few points, so it's maximal armor. In fact, I think it wasted 7 points of armor. Yeah, because it has 10 tons of armor. So it wasted 7 points of armor. If this thing had actually taken a half ton less armor, it would have been 1 point of armor less, and it would have had a half ton more to stick somewhere else. So that's kind of a downside to this one. It's actually over armored. Weird. Okay, so what do we have? We've got a heavy large laser. That's the big cannon on the side of it. And then we've got 2 medium pulse lasers. Those are like the long tubes in the shoulders. That's just weird. I mean, that's weird laser design. And then we have 4 micro pulse lasers. It's actually kind of cool. I don't think this thing is heat efficient, but it's pretty darn close to heat efficient. Especially if you jump, it's definitely not going to work there. But you don't really want to jump when you're firing the heavy large laser. Anyways, jumping's for firing the pulse lasers. The heavy large laser does not need to be running at a +3 for jumping, +1 additional for being heavy, plus everything else you'll be dealing with. We're looking at base 7s for an average clan pilot without the enemy moving or being in cover or being at distance. So you don't want to be jumping and firing the heavy large laser generally. It's not the way this thing fights. It walks or runs firing the heavy large, and then it jumps firing the pulses. And they're clan medium pulses, so they do reach out to 12 hexes, so you're not suffering. It's a little bit silly. I actually wanted to rate this thing as awesome until I realized it does waste all that, waste a half a ton on 1 point of armor. So it's going to go into the basic. That's just kind of wasteful. There is a variant of this that actually replaces the micro pulses with small pulses, but yeah, pretty much the equivalent wash in my opinion right there. I like the micro pulses; they're kind of funny. Next up is another one of the cool looking mechs. I mean, this one's not as cool as the Hellion in my opinion, but it's almost as cool as the Hellion in looks. This is the Crimson Langur. This is a Star Adder mech. I mean, I think this is the first time we've actually really concentrated on a homeworld clan mech. But this is the Star Adder mech. It's an Omni. It weighs 50 tons, and it's got a 350 XL engine, so it moves at 711.0. It has Indo Steel, but no ferrofibrous armor. It does mount 10 double heat sinks in the base loadout. And its armor is really close to maximum. I mean, this one is actually properly done. It is at 168 points. It's not wasting the extra half a ton for 1 point of armor, which is what it's missing. It's like missing 1 point of armor, and we're not wasting that here. So props for the Crimson Langur being better designed already than the Pinion. So let's look at the loadouts. The primary configuration has an ER large laser tied into a targeting computer. It's got 2 heavy medium lasers. It has jump jets, a light active probe, and 4 extra double heat sinks, which is not bad at all. Now the nice thing is they having the heavy medium lasers tied into the targeting computer does offset their +1, which is very nice to have. This variant is a little bit undergunned, having only 3 guns all total, but all 3 of those guns do 10 points of damage. It's not bad. It's just not great. And it does move 711. Sorry, this one moves 711.5, it looks like. So it can jump some. But it's really just 711 is what this thing's real primary mission is, to move up good and shoot accurately, which is very nice to see. It has that one sniper gun they can really fire at distance. And it's got the mediums. And thanks to the extra double heat sinks, it is relatively heat inefficient when you're not jumping. Heat efficient when you're not jumping. Alt config A rips out all the electronics, extra heat sinks, jump jets, and lasers aside from the ER large, and mounts double 15 racks with 4 tons of ammo. It's good for a fire support variant because you'll be firing 15 racks, and the ER large close to the same distance brackets, 25 and 21, at pretty good right there. So it's not bad at all for fire support variant. Alt config B mounts an ATM-9 in place of the ER large laser. That's an interesting choice. With 3 tons of ammo, so it's got the right amount of ammo. It has a light active probe. It mounts jump jets. So it looks like this time it has 7 jump jets. So it has 7.11.7 profile. And then it has 3 ER medium lasers. Now, unfortunately, off the top of my head, I can't remember what the ATM-9's heat is. I'll put it up on screen. This thing may not be heat efficient, especially if it jumps. It will definitely not be heat efficient if it jumps. But the 3 ER mediums will put out 15 points of heat. So if the ATM-9 puts out 5 or less, at least if it doesn't move, it will be heat efficient. Movement will then be heat penalty on it. So it's not bad. I honestly don't think it's, in my opinion, as good as either of the 2 variants beforehand, but it's not bad. Though it can do a lot of damage. 21 off the lasers, and an ATM-9 can be up to 27 damage, so it might be the most lethal of all the variants. It just doesn't feel quite as cool. And then we have Alt Config C, which I like for different reasons. It mounts an Ultra AC-10 with 20 shells, so it's got 2 tons of ammo. And this one also has 4 micro pulse lasers and 4 ER micro lasers. It's just micro laser craziness with the AC-10s to punch holes and things. I kind of like that one. Honestly, a pretty awesome mech all the way around. I like all the variants of it well enough. Honestly, I think Alt Config A might be the least cool of all of them, and it's a good sniper still. So, yeah. Also, it doesn't waste that extra half a ton on 1 point of armor, so it's getting some bonus props from me on that one. Next up, the Rabid Coyote. I almost said the Savage Coyote, but that one comes later. Sorry. It's a big brother of this thing. This is the Rabid Coyote. This is a Clan Coyote mech. Hey, that makes sense, doesn't it? So, 55 tons, standard engine, 580 movement profile. It has Indo Steel, and it does have ferrofibrous armor. It's got 163 points of armor, and it's not. This one is definitely not maximal armor. It's a few points shy in like every location, which is, you know, the first time we've actually seen that for a clan in this book so far, which is not bad. It's not great, but it's not bad. And it's got 12 double heat sinks, which it does need. It mounts 4 medium pulse lasers. That's solid. And an ATM-12. This thing can probably run and fire everything and be okay. It'll be on the screen as well, so look for that number and I'll tell you if the math is good in some text. It has an ECM suite, which is also very nice. It also has, it beneficially has 4 tons of ammo for that ATM-12, so it can easily switch between ER, standard, and HE ammo rounds pretty effectively. And with the pulse lasers, again, you're probably firing mostly at standard and HE, and you'll use the probably 1 ton of ER for plinking as you come in. But overall, it's not bad at all. I'm not a huge fan of the totem design of it, but for a totem, being a coyote is not a terrible thing. It's, yeah, it's actually pretty darn good. I mean, I actually think that I'm going to, because the weaponry is really solid. It's got 4 pulses, which is very good. It's got solid speed. It doesn't have an XL engine to take it out. I'm going to say that this is going to be our first superb mech. Very flexible on the battlefield. And it's a 55-tonner. 55-tonners are workhorses. They do the jobs that everything else can do. And they are just, they're good. They're in a good position. It's got the average speed of an inner sphere 55-tonner. So it's got acceptable speed, good armor, good armaments. Yeah, it's getting the props. And also, 4 pulse lasers are just pretty disgusting. They hit well. Hit so well. And remember, the ATMs have the nice benefit of always having Artemis in them as well, so. Next up, we have the Hellfire. This is another Clan Star Adder mech, I do believe. And it's a 60-tonner, so our first heavy. It's got a 240 standard engine. It moves at 4.6 with mask. It's got 17 double heat sinks, ferrofibrous armor, but no Indo Steel. It's got 173 points of armor. And it's, again, this one does not have maximum armor. It's lacking about, at least 6 points in the center torso, a point in each side torso, a point in each arm, significant number of points in each leg. So it's definitely not maximum armor. But it's not bad. It's kind of interesting looking. It's got a lot of missile pods on this thing. And some big looking cannons. And then like 2 pistols in hands. Pew, 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 pew. Those pistol holdout thingies are a combination of heavy medium lasers, ER medium lasers, and heavy small lasers. It's got a triumvirate of, it's got that pairing, heavy medium, heavy ER medium, and heavy small in both arms. Each arm is exactly the same. Then up on the one shoulder, that's a heavy large laser you're seeing. Then it's got a ER small, sorry, not ER. It's got 3 LRM-10s. Those are the missile launchers you're looking at it. Which if you count the number, there are 10 missile tubes per launch right there. So 3 LRM-10s, which are kind of like the worst of all the launchers because of the weight position. An LRM-5 weighs a ton. An LRM-15 weighs 3.5 tons. LRM-10 weighs 2.5 tons. So mathematically, it's just not as good as either which one of the other ones. I don't know. 5 racks honestly seem like, other than their space taking up and the fact that they will, on average, only do 3 damage, just seem like the best numerical value. I mean, think of it, you get 5 racks for 1 20 rack. I mean, yeah. Now, it's one of those questions of, do you want to hit with more or hit more frequently? You'll hit more frequently with a bunch of 5s, but you'll do less damage, spattering and less damage. And with a 20, you'll get like a higher chance for more damage, but you won't hit as often. It's maximal frequency versus maximal output, because you're never going to get all. It's going to take a real crazy like statistical coincidence to get all 5 racks to hit with 5 missiles. But with the LRM-5s, you have more chances of getting some of them to hit, whereas with the 20, you have a 1 chance to hit or not hit. It's a bizarre balancing act versus frequency versus maximal frequency, maximal overall effect. Still, this thing is definitely not heat efficient. It's just got too much guns to be heat efficient. But it's not bad at firing blocks of weapons and picking how you want to do them. Oh yeah, each 10 racks only have 24 shells for 3 racks, so they can only fire for 8 turns of sustained fire. So it's a little bit short-lived right there, but that's not bad because it's got a lot of other guns to back up the LRM-10 racks. So it's got that. It's not a bad mech. It just seems a little bit scattershot again, and it's kind of just gonna be average. It looks pretty cool, but that's all I'm gonna say. But, you know, it just looks cool. It's just kind of weird otherwise. Next up, we have the Arcas. This is a Clan Ghost Bear, Rasselheg, Dominion, Ghost Bear Dominion kind of mech. It kind of looks kind of cool, like kind of bear-like, but also kind of like with like armor, like plated armor on there with like the little patterning. It weighs 65 tons. It's got a 325 axle engine, so it actually moves at a solid clip of 585. So this does jump. It has Endo Steel. It has standard armor, with case, of course, because it's a clanner. It's always got the case if it needs it. It's got 211 points of armor, which tells me that some armor is being wasted, because armor should always be an even number, unless you're running ferrofibrous, and this thing's not running ferrofibrous, so it tells me that some armor somewhere is being wasted. And it has got maximum armor on this thing, all the way across. So, yeah, it's probably got a few points wasted. It could probably drop that half ton out and done something else with it. But what does it have for weaponry? It's got 2 ER large lasers, 2 medium pulse lasers, and triple streak SRM-4s. Now, the energy weapons alone do 30 points of heat. So you're kind of already at your heat maximum right there. So you kind of have to lay off the ERs if you want to risk some streaks when you're firing this thing. It's not terrible. I mean, it's not a bad mech at all. It's got very accurate weapons with the pulses and the streaks. The streaks either lock or they don't fire. It's only got 25 launches for the streaks, but again, with the streaks, if they're not locking, you're not expending the ammo, so 25 launches is plenty for triple streaks. The ER larges give it a punch at range, and you'll probably turn one of them off when you get into close range. So you're only losing 1 weapon when you're in close range, which is not bad at all to sub in 3 streak launchers. So, yeah. And the streaks and the medium pulses do line up very well at 12 hexes, so that's really your kill zone is 12 or less hexes, and this mech can close it up with a 585 profile. Overall, I think this is a pretty awesome mech. I do like it. It looks stocky as all heck, too. I kind of like in the artwork on this one, how there's the little infantry dudes hanging out near the mech with like their like cloaks on and everything like that. It's pretty cool. Now, probably my least favorite mech in the entire book. Now, we're coming upon the Bowman. It's a 70-ton Clan Mech, Endo Steel, a 350 XL engine, standard armor, Let's say mainly a Hell's Horses mech, it looks like. And why do I not like it? Well, I'll get to it in a second. It moves at 5'8" with the 350XL engine. It's got 14 doubles, which is pretty solid, and 200 points of armor. So it's a little bit light on armor. Not super light, but a little bit light on the armor. And the reason I don't like it is it mounts an Arrow 4 system again. I know that Hell's Horses are probably a little bit less strict on using those things, but I mean, it even mentions in the fluff, the stay back and shoot nature of the design so offended Clan Mech warriors lusting for direct contact with the enemy that Con Darwin Lasanera ordered retrofit geared for more direct battlefield involvement. I don't like to see Arrow 4 launchers on Clan Mechs. They really feel like a complete abrogation of Clan honor and Clan combat stylings. I mean, almost for constantly, they don't. That doesn't seem Clan-like. That seems like a mech you'd see Diamond Shark selling the Clan Inner Sphere, maybe, because it has the artillery on it, but not a Clan mech itself. I just don't like Arrow 4 on Clanners. I know it exists, I just don't like it. The alternate variant has like additional LRM 20s, ER large lasers, and more heat sinks. So I like that a lot better. It feels nicer. So this one has an Arrow 4 with 20 rounds of ammo. It's also overgunned for an artillery mech. You need 15 rounds of this thing tops, really. It's got an LRM 20 with only 6 shots of ammo, so it only got 1 ton of ammo. So it's under ammoed for the LRM launcher and over ammoed for the Arrow 4. Then it has 3 ER medium lasers, 4 A-pods, and an ECM suite. I mean, this thing moves at 5'8" still, so I don't know why it's scared of infantry with the A-pods. I don't think it's dreadful, although it is a relatively ugly design. I just think Arrow 4 is an abrogation of Clan combat stylings. This thing is crud. I really want to rate it as dreadful, but it's honestly not dreadful. I just don't like it. That lack of ammo for the LRM 20, though, does piss me off a lot. Why are you neglecting that gun? Next up is the 75-ton Burrock from Clan Burrock. Burrock. I honestly, whatever. This has got a 375 XL engine. Moves 580. It's got basic armor and Indo-Steel, so Indo-Steel is also good. It's got 20 double heat sinks. It's a lot of double heat sinks. It's only got 200 points of armor, so this is actually relatively lightly armored. This thing is definitely lacking a solid amount of armor on it because it has less armor than a mech that weighed 10 tons less. So, it's missing some protection. But it does make up for that in sheer offensive output. This thing cannot handle its heat, but it is disgustingly damaging. It has an Ultra AC-20, that's the big cannony arm you see right there, and with 20 rounds of fire, which is good enough. You won't always fire double tapping, so it's good enough. And then it has 6 heavy medium lasers. And the nice thing is 4 of those heavy mediums are located in the torsos, so it's got weapons to fight for a long time. It does lack the accuracy still, because those +1s ahead with the medium lasers, but if this thing gets in close, and it can move at 5'8", it is pretty damn disgusting. I mean, I don't like the blockiness or the weird lack of head area on this one's art style, but this is a pretty darn scary mech. I'm going to say this one's superb. Even though it's under-armored a little bit and overheated, and that's really weird for me, right? I mean, I just think that this thing's threat level is just crazy. So, yeah. Next up is the Macross mech. This mech looks like it belongs in Macross because it can do so much missile spam that the screen will be just filled with white lines of missiles going shh, 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 shh. This is our 85-ton Blood Kite from Clan Blood Spirit. We're hitting some odd clans today, aren't we? Some of the not so mainline clans. This thing is just a missile monster. It's 85 tons. It has Indo Steel. It has standard armor. It does not have an XL engine, so it only moves at 353. It has 21 double heat sinks and 240 points of armor. It's a little bit under armored, but not by a huge amount. I mean, we're only looking like at a few points down in some locations, so it's pretty close to maximum armor. This thing mounts a crazy amount of weaponry. It mounts triple ER large lasers. Okay, 3 ER large lasers, 36 points of heat, 42 dissipation. We already know this thing is going to overheat like a mofo. Then it mounts 3 LRM-15s and 3 SRM-4s. Each 15 rack has 16 shots. But for the 3 SRM-4s, there's only 25 shots. I'm okay with the SRM-4s having only 25 shots. I'm not okay with the LRMs being over-ammoed that much. This thing probably would have been better served by not having the jump jets or the extra ammo in the LR-15s to add more heat sinks if it can fit them in. I have to look at the record sheet because this thing might be just crazy hard to fit the critical slots in, but if this thing can fit them in, some extra heat sinks would go a long way to helping it. In addition to that, it's a fire support mech. It doesn't really have to jump. I mean, the jumping is good flexibility. I'm not going to deny that. Still, it's a scary looking mech. And it can really pick and choose what it's going to be targeting, how it's going to be firing. It's got so much flexibility. The weapons are all over the thing. One of those ER large lasers is mounted in the head. One is in the center torso. So you've got that. I'm going to say it's an awesome mech, but it's just a scary mech. I mean, like, you can be scary for the pilot too. If you punch the Alpha Strike button, you're probably going to be heating up big time. Now we come to the mech I mentioned earlier on accident. Now we're coming to the Savage Coyote. The Savage Coyote is the big brother to the Rabid Coyote. Of course, that means it is for Clan Coyote. It's the 85-ton Omni mech that moves at 3.5 with a 255 XL engine, so it has an XL. It has standard armor and no Indo Steel because it probably can't fit the space in this, but it has the XL engine, thankfully. It's got 240 points of armor, so it's under armored. Remember the Blood Kite a second ago had 240 and it was under armored, and there's the same weight class. They're both 85 tonners, so it's under armored. And the base variant only has 14 double heat sinks. Almost every one of the variants adds some more double heat sinks in, except for I think Alt Config A. But a lot of times those double heat sinks do not fully cover all the heat it still generates. It's a very hot running mech in a lot of cases. So let's look at primary configuration. The primary configuration of the Savage Coyote is an ER PPC tied to 3 ER medium lasers, 2 ER small lasers, an LB-10X, and 2 ATM-12s. For all of those guns, it only mounts 2 additional extra double heat sinks. So it's... no, 3 additional. Sorry, 3 additional extra double heat sinks. So it's 34 points of dissipation. That's only 4 over the ER PPC and all 3 ER mediums. So if you fire all of your energy weapons, which is the 2 ER smallest, you can't fire the ATMs or the LBX that are overheating. So again, like I said, it's hot running. This is a mech where you have to pick and choose what you're feeling is the most effective loadout at the time. Alt Config A mounts a Gauss rifle, an ER large laser, 3 medium pulse lasers, and 3 ATM-6s. It has jump jets and an AMS system as well. This one doesn't have any double heat sinks, but that's because you really are. The Gauss rifle is low heat, 1 point of heat, and it's got 16 shots in that one. The ATMs are going to be not seriously bad heat because they're only 6 racks. It's got 30 rounds of firing for the 3 6 racks, so it's got 6 tons, so you can go 2 of the different ammo types, which isn't bad at all either. And you're probably depending on the heat levels, you can either fire all 3 pulse lasers or the ER large and maybe like a couple of pulses. You kind of pick and choose whether you're going to fire the ER large or not, depending on the range you're at. That's really going to be one weapon you're going to be turning on and off. Other things going to be kind of like, I swap in for the ER large, medium pulses, or what I'm doing. So if you're firing at range, Gauss and ER large with the ATMs, perfectly fine. Firing at close range, just turn off the ER large and everything's still perfectly fine. If you're at point blank, yeah, still firing the Gauss rifle, whatever. So yeah. Alt Config B has a large pulse laser, 2 ER large lasers, oh my goodness, a Ultra AC-5, 4 small pulse lasers, 4 ATM-3s, 6 small pulse lasers, 4 ATM3s, and a whole bunch of extra double heat sinks. But still not nearly enough. I think it has 6 double heat sinks, so we go up to 40 dissipation. But if you fire the three primary guns, you're already doing 34 points of heat. That's not even counting the AC5, any of the pulse laser, or any of the ATMs. So yeah, even with all that stuff, you're still just cooking with this thing. It's an odd one. I'm not really fond of this one because it has so much small pulsing, and I'm just not a big fan of small pulses. When for the same weight and critical slot, you can get an ER medium. Those are just better guns. Small pulses have their purpose at anti-infantry, but really, does this thing need to be wiping out that many infantry stands around? I mean, we're that many small pulses. I don't like those. I don't like alt config B much at all. Alt config C has an ER large, no, a pair of ER larges, 3 ER mediums, an ER PPC, 2 ATM 9s, and jump jets. Fun thing is, all the energy weapons are tied into a targeting computer. That's nice. And it does mount 6 additional double heat sinks, which again is definitely not enough. Because the ER PPC with the 2 ER large lasers alone is 39 heat. And it can only dissipate 40. So once again, you really got to pick and choose what you feel is the most effective guns on the field at the time of firing with this thing. Because it is just overgunned. It has only 5 tons of ATM ammo, so you're kind of picking like which loads you're going to have more of in this one. And this one I actually might go more towards the ER ammo because all the guns reach out and touch you from a long distance away. So they pair up better. Of course, thinking, well, am I going to lay off for the heat? I don't know. It's so hot in so many configurations. It's lacking armor. I just think this is kind of, and I'm disturbed by this because this should be a much better mech. I think this is a very average clan assault mech. Because it doesn't quite hit the beat on everything at once. It's slow for a clanner at 85 tons. It's too hot running, so kind of typical for a clanner. And it's under armored. It's just an average clan assault mech. It's really scary if it alpha strikes, but then it's not going to be scary the next turn. So, yeah. I think average, banal. It's pretty much where the Savage Coyote belongs. Next up is the Mad Cat Mark II. Now you might think, hey, it's a Mad Cat that comes from the Timberwolf. The Timberwolf's a Clan Wolf mech. This thing is not a Clan Wolf mech. This is actually a Diamond Shark mech that they like to sell to the Inner Sphere. Oh yeah, they say they don't sell it to the Inner Sphere probably, but they certainly probably do sell it to the Inner Sphere. In fact, if you go on the MUL, you will find this in a lot of Inner Sphere army lists. So, yay! This is a 90-ton mech that moves at 4.63. See, it's a 4.6 90-tonner. It has an XL engine, has Indo Steel, it has ferrofibrous armor. So it's got all the advanced tech also. It's got 14 double heat sinks. It's got 250 points of armor, so it's got more armor than the prior 2 mechs. Not by enough. This thing is still under armored by a little bit, but not a huge amount. It's better than the other ones were. And what does it have for guns? Well, its primary guns are a pair of Gauss rifles with 16 rounds each, a pair of LRM-10s with 12 rounds each, and 4 ER medium lasers. Yeah. I mean, this thing is really close to heat efficient. It's really good, and it's really kind of scary. Yeah, LRM-10s, again, they could have saved a ton by putting in 4 5 racks. And that would probably have been better. Because you're looking for holes to exploit with those Gauss that are made by the Gauss rifles. So, yeah, but still, you know what? I'm not going to complain on this one. This is a pretty darn superb mech. It's got good speed, good enough armor, and a significantly effective offensive output. They can fire almost constantly. So, yeah. And it looks cool, too. I mean, let's just, Mad Cats look cool. So yeah, Mad Cat Mark II, you are superb. And last but not least, we have the Scylla. This is our Steel Viper mech of the book. It's a 100-ton assault mech that moves at 4.64. So again, the 2 heavier mechs move faster than the 85-tonners. It's got a 400 rated XL engine, which Yeah, it's going to have an XL or it's going to be like a Charger. I don't care if you're clan or not. It has Endo Steel and Ferrofibrous armor again. Okay, yeah. 298 points of armor, so it's only 5 points off of max, which is fine. It doesn't have to spend that extra half ton to get those last 5 points. And it's, or I guess you go to 307, can't you? If you kind of, yeah. 304 is the average maximum. You can go to 307 as the complete maximum. Unless you're a quad, then it's more. This thing is actually pretty cool looking. It's definitely got some aggressiveness to the design look. What does it have for weapons? Well, each arm mounts an LRM-20 rack, and between them they have 18 rounds of ammo, so it's just a touch under ammoed, but not terrible. This had an LB-10X autocannon with 2 tons of ammo, so you can switch between the two loadouts. It has 2 ER medium lasers and an ER large laser. It has 17 double heat sinks, so this thing is pretty darn heat efficient too. It's heavy armored, good speed, and it can fire all of its guns almost all the time. Yeah, this is going to be another superb mech. You don't have to have massive offensive output if you can have effective and efficient offensive output, and that's what this thing has. I wish I had 1 more ton of ammo for the LRM-20 launchers, but aside from that, you know, that's darn good. And it can also jump. 4.6 400 tonner with a pretty solid offensive output. You can't go wrong with that. That is a superb mech. Go Steel Viper. You represent very well in this book. So you have 1 mech, and it's in the superb category. So, that's it. We've come to the end of the Clan Mechs inside of TRO 3067. If you've enjoyed this video, please do the typical YouTube things. Like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. I do read them even if I don't respond. And we're wrapping it up. We had no dreadful mechs, which was actually very nice for this. We only had 1 cruddy mech, and that's because, honestly, you know my opinions by this point in time on clans and Arrow 4/artillery. I don't like it. We had 4 banals, which is a little bit sad, but it's acceptable. You do need average mechs in there. We had 6 awesome mechs, which is solid saying. And we had 4 superbs, which I was not expecting, but all 4 of the 4 superb designs are also, interestingly, second liners. Yes, those are second line mechs that took the superb slots. Our Omnis did, for the most part, make it into the awesome category, except for the Rabid Coyote. And that's just because too much in that thing without enough of the other stuff, so yeah. Anyways, again, please do the YouTube things, like, subscribe, comment, hit the notification bell so you can catch up any videos I post, because I do post erratically. And we've come to the end of the video, so there'll be some more video boxes around me coming up. Please click on them and watch whatever comes up next. There's a lot of good stuff in there. And in a few seconds, you will hear the sound of swords. I've been Sleepless Ronin. We'll catch you next time. Sayonara.